South Korea has given the world Samsung, LG, Hyundai, SK, K-pop, and some of the most advanced technology on Earth. It is one of the richest and most technologically developed countries in Asia. Yet beneath this image of futuristic cities and cutting-edge innovation exists another industry that has become almost inseparable from Korean society: beauty. Welcome to Behind the Numbers, and today we will be talking about the first plastic society, South Korea. It takes a lot of effort, time, and heart to bring these videos for you, so kindly hit that subscribe button. South Korea has built a remarkably intense culture around appearance and image, and it did so decades before the rest of the world began talking about the modern beauty economy. Roughly 1 in 3 South Korean women aged 19 to 29 have undergone a cosmetic procedure, and the pressure doesn't necessarily begin when someone becomes an adult. More than half of female elementary school students in South Korea have shown signs of a distorted body image. Research into Korean children and adolescents has found significant levels of dissatisfaction with appearance, suggesting that the country's beauty standards can affect people long before they ever walk into a cosmetic clinic. And these standards are remarkably specific: large eyes, a high nose bridge, pale, flawless skin, a small face, a sharp jawline, double eyelids. For women, these features have become closely associated with the Korean beauty ideal, while Korean men increasingly face their own version of the same pressure, with sharper jawlines, higher nose bridges, clearer skin, and carefully maintained physiques becoming part of the modern masculine image. And that is one of the reasons why so many Korean women can appear remarkably similar to one another, and that is why all these identical faces are called Samsung robots. And this isn't simply about women. Men are part of the same system, especially after the 1997 Asian financial crisis. That led to a job less and more applicants in the job market. First, you need to understand that in South Korea, appearance isn't always treated as something personal. Sometimes it is treated as an advantage, and nowhere is that more obvious than in the job market. South Korea has one of the most competitive education systems in the developed world, and the pressure doesn't end after university. When thousands of applicants arrive with similarly impressive resumes, appearance can become another way to differentiate yourself. Around 93% of Korean companies have required applicants to include a photograph on their job applications. A 2019 blind hiring law was meant to stamp this out, but it failed. And all this unethical chaos created an entire phenomenon, sometimes called employment surgery. Employment surgery is cosmetic surgery performed specifically to improve someone's chances of getting hired, with procedures designed to make their facial features more acceptable to employers. Ironically, some parents even pay for these procedures as a graduation gift for their children. There are 457 registered plastic surgery clinics located in Gangnam District alone. Despite South Korea's reputation for advanced medicine, the country's plastic surgery industry has faced serious safety controversies. One of the most notorious is something known as ghost surgery. Ghost surgery occurs when a patient agrees to have an operation performed by a particular surgeon, but after the patient is placed under anesthesia, another doctor secretly takes over the procedure. A study estimated that approximately 100,000 patients may have been victims of ghost surgery between 2008 and 2014. The problem became a national scandal after several patients suffered serious injuries and deaths, including the case of 25-year-old Kwon Dae-hee, who died after undergoing jaw surgery in 2016. His family later obtained operating room CCTV footage and alleged that the surgeon they had chosen had left the operating room while other medical personnel continued the procedure. And that brings us to one of the strangest consequences of this entire scandal: cameras. South Korean lawmakers eventually mandated cameras inside operating rooms to prevent patients from being secretly handed over to another surgeon. In other words, South Korea reached a point where patients wanted technological proof that the person they paid to operate on them was actually the person holding the scalpel. In 2020, Hong Kong heiress Bonnie Avita Law traveled to Seoul for liposuction around her birthday, but the trip became her last. But despite these controversies, the industry hasn't shrunk. It has gone global. South Korea is no longer simply performing cosmetic procedures on Koreans. It is actively attracting patients from around the world. In 2024, more than 1.17 million foreign patients traveled to South Korea for medical treatment, and foreign patients spend billions on their treatments, You can even book airport concierge services through some Korean clinics where patients are collected from the airport and assisted throughout their procedure and stay. And interestingly, cosmetic medicine is a major part of that boom. South Korea isn't just selling surgery, it is selling an entire concept of beauty. Korean skincare has become a global phenomenon, and the country's cosmetics industry has transformed itself into a major export machine. In 2024, South Korea overtook France as the largest exporter of cosmetics to the United States. Korean cosmetics exports to America reached approximately $1.7 billion, a 54% increase from the previous year, and then came another record. In 2025, South Korea's cosmetics exports reached $11.43 billion, the highest figure ever recorded. That means South Korea has managed to turn its beauty standards into an export industry. But there is another place where the beauty industry becomes impossible to ignore: the streets. Almost half of the advertisements in subway stations are related to cosmetic surgery. The authorities eventually had to limit them to 20% to leave space for other businesses' advertisements. Cosmetic surgery was once something people used to stand out, but in South Korea it increasingly became something people used to blend in. But amidst all this obsession with beauty, South Korea risks overlooking a far more fundamental problem. It has one of the lowest doctor-to-population ratios among developed countries. Korea also had the lowest birth rate and the highest working hours. At the end, we'll say that there is nothing wrong with changing your appearance if it makes you feel happier or more confident. The problem begins when society stops appreciating imperfections, and people feel they must change themselves just to be accepted, loved, or considered beautiful. Do have a look at the other videos we've made, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon.